Hello, everybody. Happy Earth Day to you. It's Monday, April 22nd, and All Access Live with Kevin Rankin is excited to have somebody completely different today as a guest. But before we get started with that, I want you to do me a favor. If you're here anywhere other than YouTube, I want you to do me a favor and go to youtube.com/@accesskevin. You can see that link below. If you subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. If you enjoy this video, make sure that you like it. Hit the bell, be notified about all the upcoming guests. I've got a great guest on Wednesday, Drew Arnott from Strange Advance, a great new wave band from Canada, many of you might know. And next week, I've got DJ Tony Stewart, who's a phenomenal DJ in the LA and San Diego area. He used to work with BT and Pharrell and lots of killer dudes. So we'll talk about international touring. We're going to talk about some Canadian new wave. But today, we're going to be talking to a phenomenal sort of super pro in the scooter industry. So all the way from the Los Angeles area, I've got Walter Perez. Walter, and I got Capital K. What's happening, Caleb?
How's it going, guys?
Hello,
It's
that
good
was
to
a
see you,
good intro.
boys.
I
Yeah.
like that.
How do I introduce you where I can sort of encompass all of your talents and skills, sir?
Oh, I don't know. I was wondering how you were gonna do it too. I was like, he's gonna say like Scooter Pro, and then when I joined, I was gonna go Washed Up Scooter Pro.
Yeah. No, well, you know what?
Hey, we're getting
I think
old.
once you well, okay, so what's the kind of age that most guys sort of transition from being sort of professional competitive scooter guys to, all right, now I'm just a sort of rep and an ambassador to the business and I'm hanging out playing games and talking to people on YouTube.
Yeah, anywhere from 25 to probably 32. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
Raymond Warner's like 32, 33. He's getting out of the professional scooter riding, and he just plays golf now. So that's a good example. And then there's people
Yeah.
who are younger than me, like Chris Ferris, who's 24 or 25, and he just announced his retirement last year and of like competing and
Okay.
going crazy. So I guess it ranges from there.
The Ferris wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Well, I should mention that a lot of people that watch the show regularly are not necessarily uh they're not necessarily sort of familiar with the scooter biz, right? So maybe let's back up a little bit, and for
Yeah.
people that don't really know about competitive and professional and sort of committed scooter riders, I know that old people like me, if they haven't been around it, they might see $30 Razor scooters that somebody might have bought at Walmart for their kids on Christmas and think that everybody that rides scooters is into the Razors, right? But I know that's not the case. Let's talk about that. Like, when did you first get into scooters, and how did you get involved in terms of being professional?
Yeah. So, dang, this is so professional. Sorry, this is so cool. Like, I've done like very basic podcasts, and like, I'm definitely not your normal guest. I know I was like skimming through. You've done so many, so kudos to you for the commitment. I think you had like
Yeah.
313 or 310 or something. I saw some crazy number. I was
Y-
like, damn, that's a lot. Because I was skimming through to see like the people you've had. It's all
mhm.
musicians, and then you got me, some YouTuber, scooter athlete dude. But yeah, anyways, so I
I
started
like good
in.
people.
I like that.
There you
I
go.
s- about 2007, I went with a buddy of mine to like my local skate park where I grew up in Pico Rivera, and I saw a kid do a tail open. I was like, I have one of those at home. I want to learn that. So I would just go scooter. And like growing up in my where I grew up, there was no scooter kids besides one. And then once he moved, I was by myself. So, I grew up with just BMX riders, skateboarders, and they didn't really like the scooter kids because scooter kids are always the dudes getting in the way and like the little kids. I was like 12 to 14, and then I
Okay.
just.
And you had a Razor at that
Mhm.
point?
Yeah, I've gone through
Okay.
9 of them because they were so thin, they would
Oh,
break very easy.
yeah. And so, all right. So at that point, I mean, I've certainly been around the skate parks, pretty hardcore skate parks, where
Mhm.
you bring your scooter in, and the guys that have been boarding there for years, they're pissed when kids come in, even if they're adept scooter riders. I mean, Caleb, I know we brought him down to Venice Beach one time. We were on a family trip, and we went down to Venice Beach, and wasn't that
Right.
Caleb? Wasn't that where they took your scooter and just chucked it out into the sand?
Um, it was either that or it was Burnside Bridge, which is a famous skate park in
Right.
one of the early on Tony Hawk levels with the eyeball bowl. But
Right.
it was either there
That,
or Venice Beach. But either way, yeah, some skateboarders took the ride and just chucked it.
Yeah.
yeah. I, that sucks, right? Because you want to be able to, like, I would tell him, hey, look, dude, If he gets in your way, cool, man. You can be pissed about it, but I'm gonna make sure he doesn't, and he's gonna be sure that,
Right.
he's picking his lines and he's staying out of your way. But I mean, when you first got going, you said there was one scooter rider and he took off and you were the only guy. So how did you sort of earn your stripes? How did you earn your place in the park so that you could still ride and not get the grief from the other guys?
I think just going there every single day after school, I got out of school at 2:30. I would go home, drop my backpack off, and then ride my scooter to the skate park until about 7:38 every night. Either I got picked up or I scootered home. I think them seeing
Yeah.
me there every single day just riding, they just had to put up with it. I wasn't going nowhere. I would
Yeah.
get like pro skaters complaining to me like, "Oh, throw that away, ride a skateboard, blah blah blah." But like I just stuck to it because it was fun. And scootering is a lot easier to learn than skateboarding because I fell skateboarding and I fell on my bike. And that's when I was like, scootering, I think I could do because it's a lot easier and it's easier for people to learn on. It's more
Yeah.
adaptive. Like a 2-year-old can pick up a scooter and learn how to push it around and kind of stay on it compared to a skateboard. You're kind of like all balance and it's a lot easier to, you know, fall.
Well, I mean, it was sort of a newer technology too in the sport, right? So guys have been skateboarding and they really picked up like the 70s. That was a big thing in the 70s to skateboard. And you had pros that in our generation put skateboarding on the map. You had Caballero and later on you had guys like Tony Hawk who made it a real, household name. They made video games about them. It really became a competitive sport. Yeah, X Games sort of surrounded itself around like skateboarding. That was a
Hmm.
big thing, skateboarding and BMX, right?
Right.
Scooters came along at a later time, and I feel like legitimized. A lot of the pro riders legitimized the sport. But you had a lot of haters. I know, man. I would see online stuff, social media. People were hating on scooter riders all the time. Caleb, I know that you got really good at dealing with trolls when when people are flaming. So maybe have both you guys first. Caleb, why don't you talk a little bit about kind of some of the angst that you got from riders that hated Scooter, and then and Walter, maybe you piggyback off that.
They got them covered.
Yeah, so I guess starting out, um, the way I deal with it is if a VMX rider wanted to call me out, I would, you know, sort of challenge him, have a competition. I'd be like, hey, if you can boost that quarter high, I bet I could pump and boost it higher than you, or something like that. I'd make it fun, make it a little bit of a challenge, and uh, I'd maybe throw like a trick in there just so that it wouldn't seem as easy, but that would probably garner respect a lot. I mean, a lot of people that don't know about scootering that would hate on scootering just for the way it looks or the culture. If you can do a flip, they would usually like let that slide at that point. I think
Right.
I think the thing about like overhead tricks or tricks with your hands and feet, those are more for combos. But if you can do body rotations, so more than a 360 or you know a 540 air or any sort of flip variation, there would be considerable more respect given towards a new rider at a new park that he's never been there. He's not well known or anything like that. So just starting out like that, or even because airing out of a flyout, I mean, I guess there's just so many different variations of ways to sort of deal with the bullying, but you never want to leave the park. You kind of want to claim it for yourself. So if you can get there early before anyone else gets there. Um, I definitely, like, no matter how hard you get bullied, don't take your helmet off if you're going to ride. Um, a lot of my friends don't wear helmets. I always pad it up because I like to slide out if I'm trying to learn a new trick. But
Yeah.
no matter what you're doing, street, park, vert, helmets are very important. Um, so even if you get bullied out of the park, don't get bullied to the point where, you feel like you need to take your helmet off. So, yeah, just keep riding.
Yeah. How about you, Walter?
Well, I mean, because like LA is like a lot different. It was more the street dude. So I was like the little park kid. Caleb, kudos to you because I know you always did wear a helmet and pads and everything, and I'm sure you still would if you rode a park. Me, on the other hand, I never did, and I still don't. I've had 9 concussions, and it sucks, but like it is what it is, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I get headaches really easy, and like if I get hit in the head, like if I were to smack myself in the head hard, I'll get a headache for like 3 days. But like with it's hard to say with bullies, like it was just different in LA. They would just talk to talk. They never really did anything. I would just ignore them and do my own thing. I mean, some parks I've had stuff thrown at us, and like a couple friends have like they've like squared up and tried to fight us. And then when all the scooter dudes like kind of gang up and like we're like, all right, let's go then. They kind of back
Yeah.
up and they like respect us. And then agreed to with you, Caleb. Like if you do a backflip, like it's way everybody's like, oh, cool. I was at Venice Beach actually about 6 months ago with my friend Cam. He did a
Okay.
backflip. These like big skater, buff dude with his shirt off came up and said, "Dude, that was sick. You could stay." Looked at
Right.
me and goes, "Can you
Nice.
flip?" I said, "No, I don't flip." I mean, in 2014 or
Oh,
2013, I landed my first backflip,
right.
and that was the only time I did it. It's the trick where you
Was
do
it
them
on
once and you're like,
Resi
"Cool."
or?
No, it was to wood. I learned them straight to wood. I've never learned them to
Wow.
resi. For those of
Yeah.
you, if you're like, "What's a resi?" Resi is just a very thick layer. Think of a slip and slide with a mattress underneath of it. So if you fall on it, it's a lot softer than hitting concrete and wood.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I learned it to wood. We didn't have really
Wow.
resis in California at all. We still really don't.
I mean,
And
there's
no
way
helmet
more.
either.
There's definitely plenty more resis than. I mean, there's like 0 in Oregon. So when I came down there for the first time and rode one, I was like, oh my god, I could learn so many tricks on this, and
Yeah.
be able to fall. And um, I guess building onto that as well, like parks like Woodward and stuff like that are so much easier for people to learn really fast and get really good, just because of all the different terrain styles
Hmm.
and the quality of the way that the jumps are designed. They just have really good transitions and no holes in ramps and no nails sticking out and stuff. It's definitely, you're very blessed to be able to grow up around stuff like that, even if it was at a later age. But to learn everything to concrete out here is pretty scary, especially when it's wet, and it's wet most of the time because it rains so much. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about Woodward, Caleb. Why don't you tell people like what that park? Because the Woodward was there were like one there was one for a while, and then you had Woodward West and Woodward East. Now they've got them all over the place, and then they've
Hmm.
expanded with a bunch of parks. So they even opened up the one up here in Portland, up at Mount Hood as well, right? So you've got all these parks. Why don't you maybe Caleb? Why don't you talk a little bit about what those parks are all about?
Sure, yeah. I would let Walter speak on this, but Walter knows I like to do my research, and so I know a lot of
Yeah,
facts
you
about
know.
just
Let's
little
see.
things.
I want to see what you know too, because I can always join. Like at the like, I could be like, "Uh huh, you're 100% right." Or I could be like, "Actually, it was this year." But I'm sure you
Yeah.
probably know more about Woodwards than me. I just go to them.
So I've never been to one, but growing up, there were video games where Woodward was very obviously placed in video games and like part of a sponsor, and that's great. But it actually started in Pennsylvania, not too far outside of Philly. So that's Woodward East now. But at first, it was just like the only Woodward, and they ended up opening up Woodward West in Tehachapi years later, and they built this massive mega ramp that pros would train for X Games Big Air on. And I remember scouring the internet when I got into scootering to see if there were videos of anyone on a scooter hitting the first air gap. Um, well, I guess it would be like a quarter to bank, and nobody had videos up yet. And I would look every like once in a while, and eventually I did end up finding a video of one of my favorite riders of all time, Ryan Williams, uh, going pretty big on those ramps.
Yeah.
Coming up all the way over from Australia. There's only a few people that even deserve to ride a ramp like that. But there's some pretty crazy clips on the quarter at the end as well. One that comes to mind would be an alley oop 270 in butter. It would be a whip buttercup catch midair. Clayton Lindley into the quarter pipe at the end is just such a. There's so many crazy memories of Woodward, even though I've never been there. The probably hundreds of videos I've watched at those parks is just very impressive, and it actually really boosted the scooter world a lot. People don't realize if they haven't been in the industry a lot, but there are a lot of very famous videos at Woodward, any of the campuses that took scootering to new heights. And there are also a lot of parks in Australia as well and UK that are very famous and push scootering sort of into the mainstream. A couple of those parks would be like Monster in Sydney, and there is a park in UK that I like as well. It's called Corby. those are both indoor parks, but they're pretty impressive, and they're very similar to
Yeah.
Woodward in the way that they're expertly designed. I think the nickname at Corby is like Adrenaline Alley or something like that, but
Hmm.
it's very cool. There's some of the craziest tricks ever were thrown down there. The world's first triple flare by Jordan Clark. Nobody has done that trick ever still.
Wow.
But yeah, 3 flips sideways on an air ramp and coming down straight is pretty nuts. I can't believe someone's actually done that. But
You're talking about some of these parks. I mean, like in Sydney and in UK. Walter, you've traveled all over the world, scootering and being an ambassador of the sport. So, have you hit like the Monster or the one in
I
Corby?
wish.
Yeah.
I've actually never been fully around the world yet. I'm leaving in 2
Okay.
weeks though, which I'll explain shortly.
All right.
I've been all over the United States. I've been to like
Yeah.
a lot of the states actually. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, damn, I've been to a lot of places. I've been to almost every single Woodward in the United States. Woodward East is if you look at Pennsylvania, if people who are wondering what Woodward is, it's basically a big summer camp you send your kid to for a week, and it's just like 10 skate parks there. It's fun.
all in
It's in
one
the dead,
spot.
yeah, all in one spot. Yeah, food, it's everything. It's a perfect summer camp for like a little athlete. Bikes, skateboards, scooters, rollerblades. They have dancing, or
Yeah, the
parkour,
gymnastics. Yeah.
and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, it's if someone's out there like, what's Woodward?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's Woodward East, Tehachapi, which is out here. There's Utah. There's plenty of them. Those I've been to every single one of those. But as far as like travel the world, I haven't. But I am leaving on May 7th. I'm leaving to London for one day, and then I'm going to Montpellier. I'm going to Fees,
Wow.
which not too many people know. I've
Yeah,
only told a
Fees is
couple
very
handful.
famous.
Yeah, it's like the
Wow.
X Games. There's like 300,000 people go to this event.
My
It's like a
God.
live national televised thing. I'm going as the US team manager, which is cool. So if they need help, I guess,
Really?
yeah, I don't, they just offered it to me, and it's how I was able to get
Wow.
in and to be able to have the all access to do everything there.
And are you going? I mean, representing the company, or you
Yeah,
mentioned
I'm going
being team
representing
manager?
Chile, the company that I manage. And
Okay.
then I'm going
Okay.
also as like the rep for US. I told them too, if they need anything, I could do it. And they also offered me to announce it. So like I'd be the one.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm nervous. Like I
Gotta
thought I was
brush up
nervous
on
to
your
be on
park
here. I'm fine
tricks,
on
my
here.
friend.
Huh?
You gotta brush up on your park tricks.
No, I know them all still. I'm pretty good. I can name them all for the most part. Dude, some of them, like, people have been doing this for 20 years, can't even name. These kids are doing this crazy
Yeah.
thing where their scooter's flipping around 15 times in the air and spinning. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I have no
Jack
clue.
Ward, half bars. He's invented all these crazy tricks that nobody else does, and those are hard to call. Very hard.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
man. Well,
insane.
yeah. What do you do in an event like that, right? You see a trick that's never been done before. You just you come up
You
with a
wing
name on
it.
the fly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Right.
just like, alrighty, that looked like this. Or, whoa, guys, can you believe he just did that?
Right.
I was so crazy, I couldn't even count it. You basically just make up a bunch of those, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I would do.
Yeah.
But they said they might want me to announce Men's Pro Park. And I'm like, damn. They're like, no pressure. It's only going to be on live national television on like 4 channels. And there's
Right.
like, and it's the last event because scootering is the biggest there. So there's like 100,000 people watching this. And
Right.
it's just
Wow.
me
That's
talking
so
because they need somebody
rock
who
star.
speaks English.
Yeah.
I
Well.
told him, yeah, I was
Uh.
like, I'll do it. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm sure I'll just get out of my comfort zone, open up in the first like run. I'll be like, all right, I'm good. I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mentioned that you took sort of a retirement, right? Because you talked about the backflip in 2014. That's 10 years ago, bro. You done your first backflip. So
Yeah.
how long has it been since you've done any kind of competition?
Since then, I was never really big into competing. I was cause like I was very big stage fright. That's why kudos to you who play in front of thousands of people and stuff. I'm like, damn, if I mess up, everybody's gonna see me. So like I did a couple little comps when I was a kid, but I never like stuck to it. I
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
scooted to have like fun and just ride, and then I just made
Yeah.
connections and then got a job at the vault, which I'm sure we'll get into eventually. That took me places, so I won't get too in detail on that, but I never really was big on competing. I just like going to them and helping and hanging out, supporting people.
Yeah.
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 The
Well, you're
hype.
good at it. I mean, that's like I loved it. That's how I first got to know you a little bit. But
Hmm.
you both started skating first, right? That was your first sport
I
between
tried biking because I couldn't skateboard,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
I
Were you a
fell pretty
competitive
hard.
biker?
No, I didn't
Okay.
even make it up the ramp, and I said this is too hard and went home. I literally did the thing
What?
where like the little kids like pedaling up the ramp, but you're not going nowhere near as fast, and then you stop, and then you just go straight back.
Oh, man. Like
And
head.
then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is too hard, and then that's when
That's insane.
I
That's
got into
really
Yeah.
scary.
I got into scooters like a year after that, and and I was like 12 or 13, however old you are in 7th grade.
Okay.
Right.
That
Right.
I just tracked. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't do it right now, but I might have to. But Walter, you probably know. Like Caleb had his first. He had his first scooter comp at 3. He was 3 years old
No,
competing
skateboard.
against a bunch.
Skateboard.
That's I'm sorry,
Right.
skateboard
Right.
comp.
Right.
Yeah, like sorry. I was trying to like I hadn't planned this, so I wasn't looking through the photos, but
You might be able to find it in time,
reminiscing
but
about Caleb's old stuff. I have these pictures of him like dropping in at 3 years
Hmm.
old when he was fearless, right? I mean, at 3, but he did have pads. He had a helmet, and he would get grief. We go to the parks, and 4 or 5 years, 6 years old, people would be like, "Pads are for dads," and I'm like, "Well, dude, it works for Tony Hawk. It can work for you." I
Yeah.
don't have, I don't, I definitely didn't have a good enough health insurance to make sure that I could, patch up a fractured skull. So, but
yeah.
I yeah, so he's unfortunately I'm probably responsible for him like wearing the pads, but he's not broken a bone yet, which is good. So
Yeah. Still was incredible.
Knock on wood. I
yeah,
actually have never broken a bone either. I've
just 9
dislocated this pinky.
concussions.
And
I've
you've
had
done
9
rails and
concussions.
stairs, which is even harder. Like I could never do street. It's too hard. Too scary.
Yeah, dude, I see a lot of bad injuries with that, Walter. I mean,
If you ride straight, you're almost required to do stair sets and rails if you
Hmm.
want to be known as
Yeah.
anything. You have to take risks like that.
And you can't wear
And
the pads, or else you're
Yeah,
not cool. It doesn't look cool.
and that too.
right.
I mean, even if you did, you have to send like big sets, and I definitely love jumping high and landing hard, but usually out of park ramps. So
Yeah. Well, how did you guys first meet, Caleb? How did you track down Walter? How did you guys connect?
yeah, I'd love to tell the story.
Oh, I'm ready.
So yeah, there was a long break I took with scootering, a very long break, maybe like 5 years, and I forgot every trick. Like I knew the motions still, but I was so rusty that I had to relearn scootering completely. So I just considered myself like starting fresh. There was a point in riding where I just started completely fresh, totally different setup, different, rebought all pads that would be adult size and all that stuff. And so, yeah, because growing up, I think I started scootering when I was like 13. And I met like a local shop and stuff like that and rode for them for a while. And of course, like Coda was always on, like always marketed by Lucky, like pushed so hard.
That was
And
Dakota Shoots.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
and I went to
Yeah.
a competition up in Mukilteo, Washington, at the YMCA. There was and Lucky was sponsoring it, and a few other companies. And I showed up, and he was in the like not quite the pro category. They didn't have one there yet. I mean, Coda was 16, I was like 13, so I guess it was before like pro riding was really paid yet. But there were tons of sponsors there, and I saw him do a cash roll double whip or something at 16, and I'd never seen scootering like that before, and I was literally like, oh my god, this is dope. I want to do this. I want to get good at riding. And I've got some pictures with them and stuff like that, and it definitely like inspires young kids if you have at least the start of greatness around you without even realizing it, and then you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was, it's like meeting Tony Hawk before the 900. That's what really put him on the map. So I guess after taking that long break, I focused so much on music, and I had multiple bands, and I was going through school and stuff like that. After I got done with high school, I was about 19 when I wanted to get back into riding, which is a little late. But, there are still 40-year-olds out there riding scooters. There's a couple of them. And they're not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time when I'd still watch riding videos and shop videos. I'd like to mention the Vault Pro Scooters for being one of the most like influential shops of all time on the internet. So even when I was taking a break from riding and I had so much going on, I would open up my phone on YouTube after school or on the bus or something like that, and I'd watch one of their videos. and there were, I want to say like 3 or 4 employees that would be part of the shop videos on, not to be confused with the shop Pro Scooter Lab, but the Vault. And Walter was one of those employees, and I'd watch, all these videos and stuff like that. And actually, growing up, I was pretty into that channel. It was pretty cool. And my brother and
Well,
dad
you
were.
you and so many other people, like other
Oh
scooter
yeah,
riders. I mean, that was like the one
like
destination spot
hundreds
that
of
everybody
thousands of
watched.
kids.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of kids. Yeah, hugely influential. Probably the most influential shop of all time, aside from maybe Scooter Hut. But still,
Okay.
at least here in America, definitely the most influential.
What made that one so different? That channel.
I think that it was the shop environment and how happy people were to have this community and just being positive a lot. And I think it's definitely still a very prevalent push around the shop. Like Austin Spencer, for example, he's always smiling. Even if he's not in a great mood, he's always smiling for the camera at least. And everyone keeps a smile on the camera when they're there at the vault. And I think that was a really important thing to teach, at least before cameras start rolling. So keeping the positivity is super important. And a lot of shops went down way before COVID just because they couldn't keep business open and they didn't have a YouTube channel. They weren't pushing nearly as hard as of all. I think they were just reinvesting a lot of time and money, tons of money back into everything going on there and moving buildings and getting bigger and bigger and having bigger shipping departments and becoming less of like a local shop and more of an online shop, which was key to success 100%. And I hope I'm, speaking with you in mind, Walter. I mean, it's a very good thing. And I'm so glad that I did get to see the shop in person because as you see the videos, even though the locations could change, it's still like the same vibe when you walk in. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so getting back to when I first met Walter, I was super hyped, between 16, 17, 18, I'd see these videos and stuff. And man, eventually I want to meet these guys. And Nolan, my younger brother, and my dad were down in LA one time, and I was probably 15, and they visited the shop before I could. And they brought me back some swag from the shop, and it was really cool. I was like, man, someday I got to get down there and I got to make this happen. But at this point, when you're growing up and stuff and you see these guys on a screen, it's so much of a different vibe. To a lot of kids, Walter and other people working there are like celebrities because they're on your phone all the time, on YouTube or on, it really was YouTube because social media platforms weren't pushed as hard back then. So it really was just YouTube. That was like a huge platform. And it still is. But there was like a time and place where YouTube was the Vault had so much viewership around then, and they still do, but it was, scootering has had like ups and downs where it's been super popular and then super dead at certain times. And that time when I was like 16, it was so big. And every brand and company was making a lot of money, except for maybe Phoenix, but we're not going to talk about that.
That's so good. It's so funny. There's reasons why they weren't making money. It was a bad ownership. Bad ownership. We'll just say that.
It was interesting ownership. Yeah, but some companies were making a lot of money.
Okay.
And so the Vault got more and more popular, and finally I was able to make myself a trip down to LA. I do remember walking into the shop, and it was so big, and they had all of these individual components and parts to build a custom scooter laid out in a rainbow orientation. So all the way from silver down to like dark purple, and they had all these colors in between. And just if you're like a gearhead when it comes to guitars or drums or cars, just anything that, if you ever get excited about little trinkets and stuff like that, or something that you're into and you can see an abundance of all these things. It's almost like a kid in a candy store. You walk in and there's just any part you've ever imagined would be there in person. You can see it, which is just such a crazy experience coming from a city where there's these tiny scooter shops that have a few things available and the rest they have to order in. And the Vault just had everything. And it's been like that for a pretty long time. They've definitely had a crazy in-person inventory. So after I got distracted by those things, I was like, oh shit, that's Walter. And he's just chilling. He's like helping a customer. And I'm just like waiting patiently. I was looking down. I was like, okay, I need to get, I think I was looking for some sort of part. My scooter wasn't dialed because I broke a headset bearing or something like that. And so it was like moving a little bit. I don't remember what it was, or I don't know. It was something. It was something that I needed to get fixed that I could have done at home, but because I was away, I just brought it to a shop.
I think it was your slit. I don't think your slit was big enough, and it was
Right.
making your
That's right.
compression loose.
Yeah, I
And
don't know
so
if
you
the
need to
bars
make it
could go
bigger
on all
or
the way.
something like it was something like that with your bars. I'm thinking about
Something
it
like
because
that.
I remember, Kevin, when you came in the very first time,
Yeah.
and I think I took you to the back and showed you.
You totally did. Yep.
Yeah,
All the
I
merch, the
remember. I showed
stacks
you
of
everything, and
stuff,
I gave
man.
you stuff to give to Caleb. I think I gave
Yeah.
you glasses. I'm trying to. It was years ago. That was at
It
like
was
Yeah.
a
I can't.
long time ago.
the second vault. I remember because you came in and you told me you were in a cool band, and I knew the song you were in, the band, like one of those songs. I was like, I know them, and it always stuck with
Yeah.
me. And
This
here
was
we
over
are.
8 years ago.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, yeah, here we are. What 9 years
it was
later,
about 9,
still
I think.
friends.
Yeah.
It's crazy how we connected
Yeah.
so later on down the line. But yeah, I remember when you came in. I'll give you my side because I remember the day you came. I remember everything too. Weird. We just connected right away. It was interesting. But I'll use.
Yeah, I was trying not to fan out because at that point, when things are online and you see someone on the TV all the time, it's almost impossible not to be like, I remember all these things, all these setups you built, and like all this stuff, and it's easy to, I don't know, be caught in the moment with a person when you first meet them, but I guess I was more like, oh, this guy's actually really dope. This is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming in for a scooter adjustment of some sort is just that's the best thing about life is sometimes you could be in a place for one thing and then leave with a new friend. And yeah, I think ever since then we just hit it off, and you know, uh, the Vault continued to be such a huge YouTube channel, and Walter was in all the videos and stuff like that, and I was there to support him and stuff, and I was getting back into riding at that time, so I was posting progress videos on like a separate Instagram account, which is now pretty dead. I haven't updated in a very long time because I did quit riding, but yeah, we stayed in contact a lot, and I came back down a few times to see you over the years, and it's just been less of a scooter thing and more like just checking in, making sure that life is still, somewhat
Aligned.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Successful. And,
I mean, when you talk about your fanaticism about the channel, Caleb, and Walter remembering what it is that you were working on the scooter. I remember my first time coming in. The relationship that you built with people, Walter, I believe, is certainly
mhm.
what established that kind of community, right? The channel that you guys had on YouTube, where you had hundreds of thousands of people watching, the scooter builds were the thing that I remember the most, right? So
Hmm.
Caleb turned me onto your channel, and
Yeah.
he said, "Look at these guys." I mean, like Walter's building this crazy custom build, and people would
Mhm.
watch it live, and you would interact with the camera, and but you could tell you had passion and a joy in what you were doing. A lot of people work jobs that really drive them crazy, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they hate where they're working. You loved what you were doing. And it's fun to watch somebody that loves what they're doing for work. And maybe if they even didn't understand scootering, but they could be fascinated by the idea that you were sort of an artist in this scope of putting together a scooter and interacting and building community that really didn't have advocates, before. And so I knew nothing about scootering. I know I was the dad that was bringing his kid to the skate park, and if he wanted to scooter, cool. If he wanted to skate, whatever. But I
Mhm.
wanted to encourage the passion, and I
Hmm.
love the fact that Caleb was driven to want to engage he was compelled by this channel of guys that were enthusiastic and they cared about their customer base and they cared about the community.
Mm.
You've been this ambassador for the sport, and I think it's absolutely perfect. You're heading over the pond and you're asked to speak, to be the commentator, and I mean, you're the right guy for it. You know the sport, you know the riders, you know the techniques and the advancement of the sport. So thinking about that and thinking about where you've come in the last 10, 12, 15 years, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I mean, if you think about, 20, let's say 2030, right? 6 years from now,
Yeah.
where's scootering going to be? Do you see it in the Olympics?
So that's actually talks right now. Um, yeah, so they're saying, 'cause I think the next Olympics is at 2028, and it's in Los
Okay.
Angeles. It's either 2028 or 2026. I can't think of it. Right now, there's this
Well,
whole
yeah,
thing going.
26 will be the Summer Olympics.
That's in LA, isn't it?
Yep.
That's what they keep talking about. So there's this new scooter thing. It's called US Roller Sports or whatever. It's a big organization I'm a part of now. That's what I'm
Okay.
going as a TM thing for. I don't work for them or any of that stuff. I just kind of
Sure.
like signed up so I can get myself in the door. And I'm like,
Right.
getting in there. But um yeah, that's like what they're working on. They got skateboarding in the Olympics, I guess the
Yep.
last Olympics.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like that's what they're rooting for. And there's a very slight chance scootering could be in the Olympics for 2026. If not, it'll be in the next one. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm very go ahead, Caleb.
Well, yeah, and I mean, first step is X Games. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's going to be easier to make happen with Travis trying to pushing it with Nitro Circus. I mean, that's the whole point of sort of working with Ryan is trying to, you know, ease it
Ah,
into X Games first, and then, maybe do tour and stuff like that, and then push it to Olympics. There has to be baby steps, just because.
all right.
I
So
mean,
you mentioned Ryan. I mean, Ryan. So you were talking about Ryan Williams again. You
right,
mentioned him before from Australia.
right,
The dude is not just a scooter rider, though. I mean, he's the first pro scooter rider that I saw that just blew everybody's mind. But he
Mhm.
didn't stop at scooters. Right now, he's incredible on bikes. And he's like Sean White was, like skateboarding and snowboarding. Right. I mean, he
right,
just
right.
he could do no wrong on a
It's
board.
just well rounded.
Ryan
Yeah.
Williams is kind of like that with anything with wheels, right? And
Yep.
and he'll probably end up being a killer skier or something too.
Yeah.
So
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. He could.
I mean,
Wouldn't put it past him.
anything the dude touches, he's good. Like
yeah,
anything. He just got sponsored by BMX for Monster. He's like
did he?
but yeah, so he's like one of the first, I guess, scooter riders to get an energy drink sponsor because we're still like scootering doesn't have the cool factor. Like
Yeah,
when you think of scooters, you think of a kid toy. You think of a little kid riding
right.
a razor scooter that you got for Christmas. You don't think of like crazy tricks and the fear factor, crazy whatever. But he's the
Yeah,
first like true scooter rider. He's also the first scooter rider I think to make $1 million riding a scooter, if I could remember.
really?
Right.
hmm
Okay.
Right.
I remember it was like a big news thing. He's from Australia. I think he's around my age. I'm 28, so he's about around there.
He's almost 30.
Okay.
Is he almost 30? Is he like
Yeah.
probably 29 then? I saw him recently, but like he just moved on. Like he still scooters and does scootering, but like you can't scootering's not at the level yet where you can make a true living off of. I mean, he's another story, but like the
Right.
average Joe can't. Like the average
Yeah.
kid
Right.
can't. So he started doing biking too. And everything he does in his bike, he's won like 4 X Games gold medals in a row. Every
That's
contest he's
crazy.
entering, he's basically winning or he's
On a
podiuming
bike,
Yeah.
which is
on a bike, which is crazy.
the
From starting out
second.
on a
Yeah.
scooter to go to a bike is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
The front
that
flip, nothing front bike flip is insane. Catching the seat and
that
then that's just so wild.
yeah,
No, he just
no, I
throws
mean,
it from the bars. He throws it from the bars and catches it from the bars upside down when he's doing
Yeah,
a,
it's the
a
proper
body
way.
front flip.
right. Yeah, that obviously the guy he's got the DNA that allows him to do things that most people would never even dream of, and the things that you would do on a video game and
hmm
never let your body even risk, right? But yeah, have you met him,
Yeah, I've
Walter?
met him a lot. I met him actually before I even worked at the scooter store and before I made a little name for myself. He did like
Okay.
little tours and stuff when he'd come down and he'd go to like the scooter shop, literally called the shop. He did like a meet and greet there, and I was like, oh, I have to go. And then the
Yeah.
Scooter Zone was another scooter store like that I grew up going to. It was before the Vault was even a scooter store. Um, he went there and I went there and I did all the little meet and greets and was the little fan in the crowd that like met him. I wish I still had the pictures. 'Cause it'd be really cool to have and like reminisce on like, dang, I went from this to like now we're
Right.
friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I don't talk to him obviously all the time, but like when I see him, it's like, oh dude, how you been? And we catch up roughly.
Mhm.
But
I was
he's a
curious about his
very
personality.
genuine. He's very genuine, like
Okay.
dude. He's cool. That was another thing
Yeah.
too. Like growing up, I don't like I met like you see pro people and they're kind of mean to people, and that's why I've always been so roughly
Known a few
nice.
of
Just because
those.
it's like treat people with kindness, obviously. But like I've met a pro dude and he was an ass. Excuse my language,
Yeah.
but he just wasn't nice. And I was like, if I ever make it in a sport, I'm not going to be
Mostly
anything
park
like you.
riders. Most of the
Yeah, and
park
it's like
pros
of
are.
other sports too. I think maybe because
Yeah.
I was on a scooter, but yeah, he's
Well,
always been so nice and kind.
Hmm.
when I hear that, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're a skater, a scooter rider, you're a musician, you're an actor, you know, there is a persona that goes along with being a professional that some people feel like they needed to elevate and
Hmm.
keep themselves at a level above people. I've never understood it. I'm a fan of a lot of musicians and actors and athletes and that kind of thing. But if somebody were to treat me that way, it would totally ruin my entire outlook on, honestly, if I was younger, because you think about a lot of the guys that get into scootering, they're younger. And if a
Hmm.
pro treats them like shit, it's going to ruin their outlook on the sport because they're going to think, you know what, man, I don't even want to pursue that kind of thing. If, I'm going to run into a bunch of assholes. For me, as a musician, a drummer, when I looked up to these musicians and I got to meet them when I was a teenager, they changed my life. The good ones, right? And
Yeah.
I met some crappy people along the way, but a majority of the really important people that I met early on were gracious enough to sit and talk to me after a show or send me a letter or take a picture. And I always want to be that person, man. I don't ever want to take it for granted that if it weren't for those people coming to the show, I would be sitting at home doing a podcast, And so I'm grateful every time. And you talk about Ryan, if he's humble, at least, and you said he's a chill dude. He obviously, like I said, he's probably a little bit crazy. He got to be in order to do
Yeah,
what he
for what
does.
he
But
does.
yeah, but if he's approachable, I mean, what a great ambassador for both sports. If you can be, so adept at these sports and then still be relatable, because those kids that are watching 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that want to aspire to be great, if they
Right.
see that I can be great and I can still be a good person, I
Hmm.
mean, dude, you're winning, right?
Of course. And like
Yeah.
do you remember, obviously I'm not going to ask names or you don't have to say names, but like the people you met, like the drummers or whatever, the musicians that
Yeah.
were like asses, you remember their names, right? And you remember them exactly. And
Totally.
you're
I
like, you'll
remember.
never forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Same
mean,
here. I know of the scooter dudes who were dicks to me when I was a little kid that were famous. And I'm like, I'll never forget you.
yeah. Yeah. I had a couple of great friends in the industry that caught me on that a couple of times and said, "Hey, you know what, man? I know the dude that was an asshole to you, and truthfully, he is a good guy. He probably caught him on a bad day. Everybody has a bad day." And I was
Hmm.
glad that my friend, our mutual friend, Glenn, Caleb, he said, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
man, when you're tired and you're on the road and everything is against you, hey, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten, and somebody comes up and maybe they're cool, but you're just assuming they're going to be a dick because you've dealt with some other dicks, and so maybe you're snappy that day,
Yeah.
and the person you were snappy to remembers that. In my mind, I think just don't ever be snappy, but it's impossible, right? Sometimes we have a rough day.
Yep.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
yeah, I do remember those people, and they affect me in a way that I thought, okay, well, you know what? I don't ever want to be that. I'm never going to be that guy. But the people that were really cool affected me way more, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they changed everything I wanted to do in music. And so I imagine it's the same thing for you guys in skating
Yeah.
and
100%. Like,
scootering, yeah, like just riding.
yeah.
Like, do you, I mean,
Definitely.
if you really feel like scootering is going to be in the next Olympics or the one following, that it seems like it's going to take legitimacy way over the top, right? Because now millions of people, not just the people that are watching reels on YouTube and Instagram,
Hmm.
are going to be seeing, oh wow, I didn't even realize that's a legit sport, man, and look at the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
Like we thought this is only possible in a video game. So it seems like the sport's really going to blow up.
It's
So
just really hard to score because toe drag and heel drag and
Style and
different
yeah,
styles.
yeah,
It's very hard to
thank
score.
God I'm not a judge. I mean, I
It's
judged my
very
yeah,
first
hard.
little contest recently, but that was like the little kids.
yeah,
That was fun but hard. But yeah, I'm glad I'm not a judge because it is insane. But it'll help, and hopefully it'll bring the big name. Because scootering, there's not a lot of money in it. All the money
Right.
that like, because I work for a company that I manage, the money we make, we pretty much break even. We're not like booming because sales
Right.
aren't like
Yeah.
crazy because the whole world industry, the whole world market isn't doing insane right now. But like
Right.
Right.
the money that we make pretty much just covers me going places, growing the brand, and then paying for our riders, and
Right.
that's it. We basically break even. We're not making like crazy amount of money, and if we are making anything, the money we do have extra, we put it back into the sport to grow it, like sponsoring all these kids or sponsoring events and etc.
Right. Right.
So hopefully, if we get in the Olympics, then it's like, whoa, Red Bull's like seeing people, they'll put money in it. Monsters seeing things, whatever. Corporate companies hopefully will start paying scooter dues, and it'll
Yeah.
just build the sport up and make it grow. It's the
Sure.
end goal.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Yeah, no, and
That-
I mean, adding on to that, it's so interesting the way that the money works in scootering, because I won't touch on it too much. I know it's sensitive for a lot of companies, so I don't want to single anyone out really, but um, there, it seems to be like the most entry level scootering brands in the past, many years ago, over a decade ago, have made the most money off of products. So, I mean, if you include Razor, MGP before it was Mad Gear, and Fusion, have made the most money off of just selling parts, because they were first. Razor,
Okay.
in a way, was first, like along with Yak and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
parts wise, I mean, um, there's a song playing.
yeah, there's music playing.
I felt like this was going to
It's
accompany
just
your.
a little too loud.
I was
Maybe
chilling. I was vibing. I thought honestly, I looked
Okay.
at my screen like, oh damn, do I have a tab open up on me? What's playing?
I know, me too. But yeah, I feel like there are so many companies like Chili, and especially Micro, because I remember when Micro was so big as a company on its own before it acquired other companies and built brands on top of it. Those little grabber scooters and those little and the first ever snow scooters with Benjamin Friant. I'd like to mention that as well. Very iconic. Those brands have been around for so long, and there are so many scooter brands that I've worked with, maybe not personally, but through shops that I've ridden for, or Walter's worked with on videos and stuff like that, or all his friends ride for him and stuff like that, that don't get mentioned enough anymore, because I think like scootering has definitely evolved so much that it's going in different directions all the time. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Micro's who I work for now, right?
Right.
Like, they're like the one to own Chili.
Right.
Micro is like the pioneer. Micro is the little two-wheel scooter in the front, one wheel in the back.
Yep.
They started, I can't even think. They've been around for a very long time. It's
Very
Swiss
long
made.
time. Yep.
But yeah, they created the first metal core wheel for scootering. I mean, Trick Scooters, like the first tailp was ever landed in 1999. I forgot the dude's
Really?
name.
Okay.
And then like that's when Trick Scootering became big, was in 2000. And then Razor started sponsoring people like OG people like Josh Toy, and there's a large group of those old dudes who like pioneered the sport.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And Eagle Wheels.
yeah, they came after because Eagle wheels started out with rollerblade wheels and then started
Right.
making scooter wheels after.
Yeah, and they weren't even white urethane; they were like tan.
Hmm.
Like they couldn't get the color right. That was so funny. I remember. So getting wheels that aren't chunked from like that age there's probably a few pairs in existence. There are some people that I know, like I guess Bradley Gowdy and people like that collect really, really old stuff. And seeing pictures like of Phoenix grenade clamps and stuff like that going back, it definitely brings that nostalgia and takes me way, way back. Because I mean, Walter, speaking of vintage scooter parts, I would imagine you definitely have like a collection,
lot.
like a scooter graveyard of all these parts that used to be the thing back then, but it's been 15 years now.
Yeah, I have a brand new Phoenix grenade clamp in green. It was unopened in the packaging, but I wanted to open it, so I opened it because I didn't care. But it
Yeah.
was sitting on my
Yeah.
desk for a long time, but now it's in a box. But yeah, I have wheels that were prototypes from 2000. I have like OG Eagle wheels that never came out. The urethane is actually wax. That was a
Right.
sample that they were testing for like rain, clear, like crazy stuff. I have a lot of really old scooter parts in bins, and I still find them. And I constantly surf OfferUp, Facebook
Right.
Marketplace for like vintage
Oh,
scooters,
yeah?
and I'm like, oh my god, if this is a thing, like my OfferUp name isn't Walter, it's Jeff, just in case I like somebody magically knows who I am or something. I just don't want them
Yeah.
to like think it's me.
Yeah. Until you show up.
What
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you never know. I
Walter
don't know. It's just something I did. And then a lot of times people would try to upsell their scooters. Like kids would sell custom builds that like scooters that I made personally for them in the store. They would try to sell them, and I would ask them why and stuff like that. But I don't want them to know it's me.
Yeah.
Kind of just like a
Yeah.
burner account. I'm not
No,
gonna buy
yeah.
those, but yeah, just
Yeah.
trolling
Yeah.
trolling kids selling scooters, like a $400 scooter they're trying to sell for 600. I'm like, why?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many iconic parts that are just so recognizable. Even if you blacked it out, right? A silhouette of it, just a shadow of it, you'd know exactly what it is just based off the shape alone, just the shape. There's so many iconic things that you and I could bounce back and forth on that would definitely bring back memories for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Did you
think
put
you
the
guys, if
warehouse
you're
sale
watching,
thing up on the screen?
I did, yeah, folks. If
It's
you're
cool.
interested in some of these products that Walter's talking about right now, you hit that QR code on the screen. You can get some deals on the suspension scooter. We got a little, we got the neochrome, the LED neochrome right here. Great discount, right? So got some nice sales, and I would be remiss if I didn't show off the LED, the glitter LED. Come on now, are you kidding me?
And you know
Yeah,
what?
these are all
Glitter,
like
that's
this is what Micro's known for. They actually won like my boss, his like little new like what is it signature in the thing? It says rated New York Times #1 kid scooter or something. Is these?
right on. Wow, well,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know what?
If-
I'd send you the link for it, but there is a signature product coming out if it's not already out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
that
so
I'd
I made a
love to send you.
scooter. It's supposed, dude, we soft launched it. I could tell you. I mean, so I made my own scooter. Like, it's the craziest thing. I still talk to my mom all the time about this. I'm like, can you believe it? Where I've come? Like, I made a scooter and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I did. I made my own scooter from scratch. Like, my boss let me. Basically, it's my own signature scooter. It's not. It doesn't say. Actually, I put my name on the box because I'm like, I made this. I put a lot of time and effort into it. I at least can have my name on the box. It was supposed to be out recently, but the brakes, like the little brake that you stop with, had a defective issue. So we have to scratch 700 of them, of the brakes we have, and we have to order new ones. So they should be dropping May 10th. If there's, I don't know how many people are watching this or if there's any scooter people in here, but May 10th is the new launch date, which I just found out in a text message about 10 minutes before I got on this. But we
Yeah,
haven't announced it yet. So if there's anybody in here, they'll know first before anybody else, but I'm not announcing it yet.
Yeah,
There you
custom
go.
dimensions designed by Walter himself, and it's been a process for what, 3 years now?
Two year and a half, almost two.
Okay.
2
We
years.
started the
Wow.
process about a year and a half. We started it, and then it's just a lot of money and time and detail into building a scooter that I never knew. I thought, you just
Yeah.
send an email in your scooter of what you want, and whoever in the factory makes it, and it comes to you. No, it is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, Corey's
I'm
has been
sure.
out on the site for a long time.
Corey,
Yeah,
who?
I got a Corey Funk. He's a big YouTuber, part of the Funk
Yeah, I know.
Bros. He wanted obviously the scooter with us, but we have a lot. You want one? I got about 900 of them left. I got 3 in my
man.
garage.
I discovered the Funk Bros, by proxy. My son, obviously, watching millions of YouTube videos, like every
So
other
many.
scooter
many.
rider out there.
So many,
But-
dude.
Yeah,
crazy.
and through those videos, and through Caleb's exploration, I found some other celebrities that have gone on to leave the sport and do other things. So the
Right.
Paul brothers, right? So you've got Jake and Logan Paul, and I know that somewhere there's videos of Walter Perez with is it Jake or is it Logan Paul? Is that right?
It's Jake, but
It-
technically,
It was
yeah.
Jake.
I mean,
Yeah, Jake. I never met Logan. Jake came into the vault, and I built him a full custom scooter for like
Okay.
with pink wheels, with
with
pink.
wheels, gold
with pink
bars.
wheels.
I remember the scooter. I remember building it. He was super nice, and like this is when he was still getting into it. Now, I mean, he's some big buff little like boxer dude who's fighting everybody and their
Right.
mom. But like,
He's about to get beat up by Mike Tyson.
I cannot
Anyway.
wait. I'm so ready for that. It's gonna be.
Me
I
too.
I hope he gets slept. But then, like, I watched a video. It was like Bert Kreischer was saying. He was like, or no, Shaq and Bert Kreischer in a podcast, and he was like, "Do you think he would feel good if he knocked him out? Like, you feel good knocking out a 60-year-old man?" Like it's like a win or
Yeah, I
lose.
think Jake
Like,
Paul would feel good about that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think Jake
100%.
Paul. Yeah, but I think.
I think
All right, so
if Tyson falls, it's rigged. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jake.
if he gets knocked out, it's rigged for sure.
Sorry, Jake. Hey, man, if you ever see this shit, look, you're a great fighter, but you're going up against Tyson, bro. You
is he a
picked the
great
fight with the
fighter though?
wrong. He is a great fighter.
Is
I
he
mean,
a great?
if you recap and you go back and watch Tyron Woodley 2 versus Jake, it's pretty
Well,
dominant. It's pretty
well,
dominant.
okay.
Regardless of age,
Yeah, I mean,
he's
he
got,
hit
he's
hard,
got crazy
right?
power. Crazy power.
Yeah, hitting hard is one thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's very
But
impressive. It's hard.
You're talking to a man who's almost as old as Tyson himself, and
Well,
the
he
legacy
was like
that
39. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. McGregor's in his 30s too, so I don't know.
McGregor's another one. I think that
Oh God,
let the hype get to him. Honestly, I do. I mean, I feel like and it showed. Right, the McGregor got.
there's
he
a
got his
reason
ass handed
Jake's
to him.
never called him out, and he won't ever.
McGregor.
He's such
Well,
a dangerous
here's the-
human being.
I know we've gone from scootering to this, but this is important because
Yeah.
I think those guys were all built on social media, right?
Mhm.
And
Right,
this era is completely different than the era that I grew up in. All right, so let's talk
Right.
about the geriatric dad here. I think when I look at people that are made from social media, it's all hype. Everything is about the hype. And fighters, I mean, like starting with Ali, right? I mean, Muhammad Ali sort of started as a hype guy,
Sure.
but dude always backed it up, right? And like that guy,
Right.
he developed the hype long after he was a dominant force in the sport, and he was the greatest boxer at that point. When I look at like videos of like Jake Paul, I watch the old videos, right, where Jake Paul was sort of making a name for himself, and it was all shock value, right? The thing was, man, the more he could do to shock people and amaze, or to get people talking about him, it's just like kids talking about him at the water cooler at school, right?
Dude, it's
And
so bad.
it's horrible.
It's funny, but then I go back and I see the videos of like Logan in Japan walking around the streets, like, with like a, certain clothing that would probably offend people, and like just being super disrespectful. And then of course the end of that video is just awful. Walter knows
that was the
exactly
point.
what I'm talking about. But
that was the
yeah,
point,
no-
was to be disrespectful, right? I mean, that was the
Right.
point. Like they knew that if they were disrespectful, people are going to talk about it.
Well, you know what though? You know who generated huge hype and was also influential to kids in a good way was Claudius Vertesi.
I knew it. I was waiting for you to bring him up. I was like, here it is. You see him now? Now the dude's like a crypto billionaire, supposedly. I don't know if it's true or not, or if he's just holding
he's like
up
a real
front.
estate investor in Dubai, and he worked closely under Coda after Coda quit scootering. Coda got into Monaco, like F1, like racing sports and stuff like that, and started investing and
Okay.
getting into homes. And because they were such close friends, I don't know how Coda dealt with that for so long, because man, I would need a goddamn break with that much energy around me. But
You talking about Claudius?
Claudius was able to do the exact same thing. Now he's always wearing a suit, and
All professional, driving his
But yeah.
$200,000 G-Wagon.
but it shows you
Wow.
can go from a really small town in UK or America or anything like that, from basically nothing to something. You can grow it all yourself. So it's a very successful story.
Well,
Love
okay,
it.
so but you mentioned the hype thing, right? So Claudius,
Every
I
video.
know who he is, but
So
but I
much
don't
energy.
know about. Okay, so
Right.
it was more, like,
But
just
very
the-
positive. Very.
the energy. All right, but he
Never
did it in a good
negative.
way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I
Right.
loved it. It was great. He stayed with me
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, and how he is in the videos, how he is in person. He would just wake
Wow.
up early, be all energetic, go running around the neighborhood, and lay out in the sun. He loved it. Yeah, he's
Wow.
very energetic, but yeah, very great. He's a good kid.
Some people are the same on camera. Some people are definitely very different. Yeah, so I guess going back real quick to, people that have come into the shop, your shop, the Vault, before you, I guess retired from there, because you were there for a long time. How long did you work at the Vault?
8 years. If I was still there
Right.
this year, September
Right.
5th would have been my 10-year
10
anniversary.
years, right.
Wow.
It almost
And I
still
was-
feels like you're there, even though you're not,
Hmm
Well,
Yeah,
you're
I know.
doing
I
a
mean, I
custom
still
build for him,
visit.
you said.
Yeah, on this Friday, actually, I'm doing a custom build off between. I mean, I don't like there's any scooter people in here really. If there is, cool.
Well, they'll see it. They'll see it after.
They'll see it at some
For
point.
sure.
But yeah,
They'll
I'm
see it
doing a
after.
custom build off against Austin.
Heck
You,
yeah.
you're gonna know which one's mine, obviously, because of how I am.
We'll
mean, like-
link it down in the description after, when it goes live and all that. We'll
Yeah,
update it
I'll
later.
send it over to you. I don't know when it'll go live, but
Sure, sure.
I'm known because like I don't know. I always thought with scooters, they're very basic and simple. There's only 8 to 9 parts. But how can you make it personable? It's like thinking
Right,
about it, and I've loved designer brands and stuff. And I was like, all right, I want to make this scooter. I want to make a Gucci themed scooter with like
right,
stickers and colors and stuff. That's like the first video that went viral that I did. It has I don't know like 2 million views now, maybe even more. I haven't checked in a long time, but
right.
that's what like started the channel and growing and growing and growing. And I kept doing themes. So usually if there's a themed scooter, for the most part, it's me. But I haven't been in a vault video in 2 years. Ever since I quit,
Oh
I never
man.
got another one. They wanted me to do like a goodbye or quitting video, but then I
Oh
was like, why? Because that means I don't want to be in any other ones. That means I'm ending I'm ending the vault videos. That's like an
It would
outro.
get some clicks for sure, but yeah, it's not worth.
but
Yeah, it's
it
just like an
also
Not worth
closes
the
the
outro.
door
hype.
on coming back.
Yeah,
Not
it's
yet.
like,
Yeah,
oh, he's back. That's weird. Why is he back? He's works there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead,
it's
like
like
kids ask, why haven't he been in the
Kiss
videos
the band
anymore?
retiring like 8 times, 8 farewell tours.
Yeah, or like that other what is the other dude's name who does like a lot of farewell tours?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no, there's
Yeah.
plenty. There's plenty. Um,
Yeah. But
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 yeah,
yeah, don't you're not in the position to be retiring yet, Walter. No
no,
no going away, but when I talked about 2030, it's 6 years from now. You mentioned okay, so scootering is going to be in the Olympics. Where do you see yourself, man, as a sort of ambassador to? You've been the Chili is your co-owner in the Chili product, right?
I mean, that's what
Chili Pro
I'm going
scooters.
for. Hopefully one day, is to go
Yeah.
back up there and be higher in the company. I'm like I said, I'm the manager at Chili right now, which is
Okay.
amazing. And like I do everything. If there's any events or anything needs sponsoring, or I do everything for the company. I'm the head honcho, and then obviously there's like my riders and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, that's like the goal is just to be hopefully co-owner and take the company to be where it's profitable and be like the biggest out here. I mean, there's companies like Fusion is a perfect example. They started off being really bad. Everybody had like a sour taste in their mouth when they thought of Fusion. I
right.
did when I was a kid. Now
Oh
Fusion's
yeah,
great. I mean, they like really flipped their image and became big. So like that's what I'm trying to do with Chili, and that's like the goal. So I mean, as long as I could still make a living off of scootering and I can afford to live, I'll still be in it. And if that doesn't work, then I'll come up with a backup plan. I already have a backup plan. Backup plan, I'll just be a truck driver in the movie industry or work in the movie industry is my plan B.
Really, the movie. Well, you're right there, right? Man, have you
yeah.
done any in front of the camera, like any acting, any theater work?
No, I've never done that. I've only done
Yeah.
YouTube. I've been in YouTube videos for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Speaking
like,
of man, you got to get that channel back up and running, man. It's been
bro,
a
I
minute
lost
since
my
I've seen it.
channel. My channel's gone. I
No,
can't get it back. My
What
vault
happened?
my
that's so
vault
sad.
email, because my email was Walter at the Vault Pro Scooters. That's what I made the YouTube through. Not thinking, I was a young kid. I was fresh out of high school. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be here forever. I love this
Yeah.
scootering, blah blah blah. I made my YouTube off that email. My
Damn.
email got deleted because I don't work there anymore. About 3-4 months ago.
They should still be able to activate an email for you from the company, so you can get your channel back and then transfer.
There's a
Transfer
bunch
Yeah,
of
to
them.
your channel.
I'd have to.
'Cause the data's all
I
still
miss it.
there.
Yeah, it's still there. They just have to activate it again, but it's like $80 or something, or like 70 something dollars to reactivate it.
That's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Do
I'll do it when
that,
I'm
man.
ready.
Make it happen.
I'll pay for it when
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm like right now.
How
I'm
many
like I'm
subs
fine.
did you have?
Like 4,000 maybe. I never got it
Yeah,
big.
you
It
don't.
was getting
You don't
popular
want to lose
though. It
that.
started.
I
There
dude,
was
I
a
stopped posting because I didn't want. I like to be original too on everything I do. That's why I haven't posted scooter clips in so long. Because I don't know what to do. I don't know. I'm like I always do the same stuff. I haven't learned anything new. I learned little new stuff, but yeah,
yeah.
I don't. I like to be original, and it's hard to be original on
Well,
YouTube. You know.
Building
your
on to
buddy
that though.
Josie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that dude's
Josie.
original. He grinds the
Yeah,
craziest stuff.
totally. His reels, they're so cool, man. He does such great or street tricks, right?
One of
Yeah.
the
And
most
you brought
famous
him out to
scooter
the
clips
show.
of all time was that grind around the pipe.
Yeah, ESPN posted it.
Yep. Yep.
Really? Wow.
Millions
Yeah.
of
That-
views.
and that happened right after you brought him to my show, right? We played that UCLA show, and you came out.
It was
It
before.
was like
that.
right before. Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
a year
it
Oh, it
before.
was okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I forgot you met Jesse when we went to the show.
Yep. I
Oh, he
did,
was
man.
so jealous when I went. I told him I was like, "Dude, that's where I'm going." He's like, "Oh, what?" He got all jealous. It was so
Yeah.
funny.
No, and he used to
Yeah,
be a
know,
park
it's-
rider.
Yeah, he rode for Micro back
Really?
in the day.
Yeah. He
Oh,
was
did he
doing
really?
Yeah, he
double
rode for the company I
overheads,
worked
man.
for. Like, we used to have a street, like not a street, but like a park team. They used to
Yeah.
do freestyle scooters, but once they got over it, they created Chili in 2011, I believe it is. But
Okay.
yeah, no, yeah, Jesse used to ride for Micro way back in the day.
Wow.
And
He's a
back
good
when
dude.
Ryan Williams and Josie were both on Mad Gear, they did a video with what was it, Nikkei Films, at a Caloundra skate park. It's such an iconic video, man. There's a video of Josie doing a boosted Bry Mac like 6 feet out of a 10-foot quarter, and it's just so massive.
No,
Like
it's
Yeah.
Josie has no fear at all, no fear.
Yeah.
No
He's
fear.
super tall. It seems like I remember him being really tall.
Yeah, he's like
Isn't
6'5" or 6'4".
he? Yeah.
He's like a big
That's
model
nuts.
too. Another thing about, I mean,
True,
maybe if you ever
true.
want him on here, I can ask him, and I'm sure he'd probably do it for you if you ever want to interview him.
Yeah. Well,
But
he
he's
was
like,
a cool hang.
yeah, he's tall. He's a model. He's like traveled the world for modeling, and he's been on billboards and in magazines. He's done stuff for Vogue, and he's pretty big in modeling at one point. He still is. He's still a big
Wow.
model. He still models. That's what he does for work.
He lives
Heck yeah.
in Australia still.
No, he actually got a visa for scootering, for like a work
Really?
visa. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he lives in Los Feliz. He lives near Echo Park.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you
well,
ever been
we'll
to the
have
Echoplex, like that OG part, like OG venue.
No.
It's like very tiny little venue in Echo Park. But he lives like
I've heard of it.
maybe 10 minutes. Yeah, he lives like 10 minutes from there.
Nice.
We'll have to,
Okay.
maybe
well,
we could
yeah.
do a podcast in person. We'll just go and we'll crash his pad and interview him.
Yeah, no,
I
that'd be
think
cool.
as you're doing your travels, you mentioned this is your first trip across the pond. You're going to be doing this one coming up in May, right?
Yeah, I'll be gone all of May. I come home the
All of May.
25th. Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
to, where am I going? I land in London, and then I'll be in Montpellier for a week, and then I go to Barcelona for like 4 days, and then I'm gonna do like some stuff with my other friends for like the
You can do
rest
some
of it. Some
social
tourist
travel?
stuff. Yeah, just tourist. Very. Well, I've never been here. I'll look at some old buildings.
Yeah. Oh
Sure.
man, it's Europe is incredible, bro. I've done it a bunch, and yeah, Caleb's mom and I went over and we backpacked around for a couple months when we were 18. Thumbed it. We were hitchhiking. We were riding the trains and hitchhiking for a couple months, and it was the best experience I ever had. So, that international travel, as you guys both know, man, it absolutely opens up your mind and your world entirely. Caleb, you got some international travel coming up too, buddy.
Yeah, you do. You're gonna be
Definitely.
having fun.
I don't want to release it to the public yet. We're not going to talk about
All
it.
right.
But yeah,
All right, yeah.
I'm definitely leaving.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I'm excited for you. And both
There's-
you guys, man. It's
There's 2 stories I want to share, too,
Yeah,
and
let's
both of
hear
them
it.
include Walter. So, I wanted to talk about the custom build, and I wanted to talk about the trip out to Riverside. That whole like trip that I spent with Walter for like 3 days. It was pretty
You
incredible.
were with me
time.
for longer, weren't
oh
you?
my god, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 days in LA,
That's
I think.
all right. All
Maybe
right, so
like
this is
4.
the Funk Bros trip, right?
Yeah, we could start there for sure. I
That was
mean,
fun.
yeah, so I think the first day we went out, we did go to Scooter Zone. And it was the first time I ever went there, and the indoor park has changed so much, so it's like a completely different layout, but it was still.
Oh my God, you're right. I forgot we went there.
Very
That park's
fun.
obviously, that's all long gone. That was like the
Yeah.
last time I went. That was the only time I went there and the last time. So you and I went there the same
Oh.
amount of times.
The
Wow.
shared skeleton, like bones of Scooter Zone, like the very end of it.
Mhm.
But it was a very good time, really cool time. Got to meet Raymond Warner there, and I was definitely like pretty stoked about that. It was just so cool. Just riders that you grow up watching, and just like really genuine people. You never realize that people are real behind the screen until you actually meet them. But yeah, I mean that whole trip. I remember Walter and I were taking his the Kia Fortnite out to Riverside. It was a Kia Forte, but he had the sticker on the back.
Yo,
Fortnite.
We took that out, and it was just about sunset time. Like sunset was coming down, and there's a huge reservoir in Riverside when we were going out there, and went up this like private drive. And I don't remember if you told me where we were going. Yeah. Well, you told me when we were already almost there, and I was like so stoked because, like I said, I'll reiterate again, like growing up watching big name people like Tanner Fox and at the time Jake Angelis and all these people, Corey Funk, Chandler Dunn, Caper and Funk, all these people that are like YouTube guys that you see all the time on your phone. It's just such a cool thing to be in a different state. Walter and I were going up this private drive, and There's like this big metal gate with some like custom Funk Bros logo in the metal, and it was like in the it was in the actual like welded on, and the gate opens up, and it's big open property with like this hill that Walter eventually like got to. They used like tarps and built a giant slip and slide into a pond.
Oh my god.
But anyways, I wasn't there for that. That was like way after, but they had this iconic. You could probably see it back then on Google Maps. It doesn't exist anymore probably, but they had this ball pit on the roof of their house. And like all these crazy YouTuber ideas, like where they're trying to keep, like Walter said, keeping everything original. It's hard to come up with all these ideas. We got to spend, I think, it was about 2 days. It was like a day, and then we spent the night, and then we spent like the rest of the day like figuring out ideas to film for a YouTube video for the channel. The Funk Bros channel was huge back then. I mean, it was up there, always in trending. So there were tons of eyes on it, and it's just a fun experience. Once the cameras come out, there's like 2-3 cameras and people around. Just I remember the brainstorming room, man. Like the next morning when we woke up after we stayed the night after Capron was playing Outlast on the TV and he was getting chased. We woke up and there was this whiteboard, and Capron and Corey were going over there like, okay, how do we make a million views today? Like, how are we gonna do this? And they're all brainstorming these ideas, and it was so just surreal. Like when the cameras are off, everything's different. It's like, all right, it's grind time. If we weren't in the other room like doing push-ups or pull-ups or whatever, like they had this whole room dedicated to working out.
Really?
It was just such a cool vibe, man. Just a YouTuber's house is a very interesting place. Because it is no longer just a house. It is
right.
This is where we play and create every day,
Stage.
every single day. It is like a stage almost, especially when the cameras are on, for sure. Such a cool vibe. Walter and I definitely like sat back and watched the process, and it is definitely like probably one of the hardest grinds you can ever do is trying to be successful on YouTube. And you could see that the hard work definitely paid off, and they were working their butts off in front of the camera for sure, and even planning. But yeah, all the great people we met, they had like this manager lady around, and friends that were also influencers, just kind of like roaming around, and it's just like a breeding ground for new ideas for YouTube and videos. Like, there was almost like no doubt that there was success in the room, even if everyone like stayed quiet. There's just so much like energy there. And Walter, I'm sure you remember, man, like the energy from just being around those guys when they're in the zone, it was unreal. And I just remember filming this this crazy like goofy video, and Walter's like, hey, roll up your pants, we're gonna jump in the kiddie pool full of oobleck and drive a Tesla through it. And I'm like, all right, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And they had this like tree in the middle of their property with like concrete slabs, and they'd drift around it with their Japanese drift cars and just all this cool stuff, man. And Tyler was there too. Tyler Funk, what a cool dude. We were chilling in the backyard watching him just do crazy tramp tricks. This guy was like basically a gymnast, an untrained professionally gymnast. And they built like this scaffolding tower to jump from probably at least 20 feet or higher into their pool that was maybe 8 feet deep, maybe not even that deep, but they were just for the YouTube video, man, just filming crazy stuff, fun stuff, great vibes. Shout out to Corey and Capron for like inviting a total stranger into their house and being like accepting and loving. I felt like really safe at your house, Walter, and your buddies' houses and stuff like that. LA is a very cool place to be. It is unrivaled for me. The experiences I've had there are probably some of the best times of my life, and that trip definitely was one of them. Getting on to the other thing I wanted to mention, there was a time where I went down to LA after that, I think, right? Was it after or before that?
Which time?
Yeah, it was after that. Yeah, the custom build.
Oh, yeah, when I surprised you.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
after. Yeah, the Funk Bros trip was fun. That was a good time. I know. I remember you said you liked them, and like I grew up with them, and like I knew them before they picked up the camera and were little vlog
right.
dudes and stuff. You know, they
Really?
we used to, yeah, we used to scooter, like they're all just scooter riders. Everybody I know
They
is scooter
are.
riders, and we all started scootering, and they just found other ways to make money. Because like I said, you still can't make
Right.
that much in scootering. Like
Right,
we all
right,
want to
right.
stick
Well,
to it, but you
yeah.
can't. So they pick up a camera and YouTube and vlog it. So that's how I
Right.
met them, just scootering at the skate park, and we just became friends. And then they started vlogging, and then they kind of just blew up out of nowhere. Just
Yeah,
slowly
yeah,
got
and
bigger and bigger and
Tanner,
bigger.
like you can't
But
go
did you
without
see it
mentioning.
intentionally?
No, they were just doing it for fun, and then it just
Right.
slowly blew up. It was like,
Right.
Wow.
let's do
Okay.
this today. Let's fill up a ball pit with, or let's fill up a trampoline with packing peanuts. And I'm
Right,
like, all
right,
right.
right. Right.
And then they jump in it. That hit like 20
Off the
something
roof, dude.
million views
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
just from something like that. And that like
Yeah.
Wow.
just jump started, and then they started going bigger and bigger and bigger.
And shout out to forgot what it's called, the place with the trampolines. It's so
Tempest.
cool. Tempest. Shout out to Tempest. We went to a different location, but the one that was always on YouTube and so big, the Funk Bros made that place big. They blew that place up because millions of views, like the craziest tramp videos ever, bro, that I've ever seen. Just really entertaining stuff. They definitely knew how to make great videos. Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, growing up with people like that, it's a totally different thing for me because when you just see them on a screen all the time, they
Mhm.
become like celebrities unintentionally. And so,
Yeah.
you know, to be able to, I guess, be around people like that and then everything's cool, it's almost like it's a great feeling, man. It's hard to
Yeah.
like it's hard to explain to you because you've just been around all that stuff. And Dad, you've been around so many famous people, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a kid, it's a totally different thing, you know. And I still felt like, you know, 14 when I went up and like, you know, dapped him up. I was like, this is crazy. I'm like trying not to trip. I'm trying not to be like, you know, a fan. But it's a totally different vibe. And
Yeah.
I really had a great time for sure. It was amazing. Those YouTuber guys are fun.
Yeah, man. That's, I think we've all been there, right? We've all been in places where, as you're younger and you kind of see somebody that may have done more in a particular, sport or, in music terms. I mean, I started playing because I watched my dad play in bands. He had a Dixieland jazz band, and I would watch him. He was a teacher by day, and then he'd go and he'd rehearse with his bands at night, and he'd go do these gigs. And I thought it was so cool that my dad, who would band, I thought was so old, right? But he'd go out and he'd have these buddies that he was hanging out with, and they happened to play music that people loved, and I thought it was just a cool camaraderie that I wanted, and I think I admired it and chased after it, and it's the same kind of thing. You talk about whether it's marketing on YouTube. I mean, YouTubers, yeah, you watch guys that are getting millions and millions of views, and there's some monetization that's happening, and you can make a living doing that for some people.
Especially before the adpocalypse, like they were making a lot, dude.
Yeah,
Lot.
but
it's crazy.
there were a lot of people that were making money. I mean, even I think about the way that the industry is. People make money for not really having a skill or a talent in some respects.
Sure.
And you think of the Kardashians, right? They blew up, and like, what marketable quality do those people have other than they figured out how to hack the reality TV algorithm,
Yeah.
And that's kind of a drag. I mean, I feel like, there's a sort of a dip in culture, when our society sort of embraces that. But, I like that to know that, the Funk Brothers are out there and they're being, they're always thinking of creative ways and excelling and, their physical stuff and trying to find something that's not just shock value, but it's actually, intriguing, compelling stuff. And but you knew them as kids, Walter, so you saw them as little scooter riders.
Yeah, I met them in like 2011, roughly, when I moved out to like buy their mom's house, and like we would just go to our local park, and they would be there, and we just became friends like that, just scootering, hanging out together. And then they wanted to start YouTube and grow a channel, and as brothers, just film what they did and crazy ideas, and it worked out. I mean, now they're huge. Corey lives in Texas. He bought a $1 million house with 30 acres of land, and he can build his dream house and do what he wants, and has the crazy cars he likes. And
yeah, he just went crazy viral for that bag, the pulling the tube off on the pond he has like a lake. It's crazy, man, how big TikTok has gotten and Instagram Reels and stuff like that. Because Corey's newest, well, I guess maybe in the last couple of months, video blew up all around like mainstream worldwide, not just because of scootering, but those ideas really can touch the entire planet on accident.
Sure.
Like not even on purpose. Which is pretty crazy. It's crazy
It's nuts, man.
to see your like own buddy like Walter or Juzzy and stuff like that, be on TV or just well known by all these people that don't even know what scootering is. That's a beauty for the sport, especially.
The sport, and you know what, man? If it grows the way you're talking about, Walter, it will grow exponentially. I mean, it'll be in all the reels and whatever new social media tools that are coming out. It will reach the masses in a big way, and you're going to be right at the forefront, man. So I
100%.
love that you've kept your head on your shoulders, man. It's really good that you've stayed humble. And when you came out the other night, you brought your mom out to our concert, man. It was the best thing ever, dude. I was so glad that we stuck around. We got a chance to talk afterwards.
Oh, I always wait.
Your mom's adorable, bro. She's so cute.
She's so excited and ready, and she's just. My mom's my biggest supporter. She does anything. We always together. And like I said, I was like, it's her turn to go to the show because I brought friends, And I was like, it's her. She wants to go, and I was like, all right, let's go. But yeah, no, she loved it. She had so much fun, and she enjoyed it. Yeah, so always thank you for always inviting me. If you send the text, if I'm in town and you're like, yo, we're playing, I'm there always.
Yeah, I think that's
dude, your birthday weekend.
Yeah, I should hopefully. If I'm here, I should be here. I don't really plan that far ahead in my life because I just go month by month, day by day, because I never know. Like, May's booked. I'm gone all of May.
Yeah.
First 2 weeks of July, I'm booked. Or June, I mean.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. The rest after that,
it's smart to take it day by day. But Caleb, Walter and I were talking the other day. We're back playing like the Grove of Anaheim, I think, on Walter's birthday. So
wow.
Yeah, like
some pretty amazing venues out there.
August 25th, is that your birthday or 24th?
My birthday's the 25th. You're playing Anaheim the 25th too, and then I think LA is the 24th. What we checked.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Peacock Arena.
That's right, man. Hopefully, if it works out, it'd be awesome to catch you guys again. And
I'll definitely be there.
Tell your mom, hit her up with a Flock of Seagulls shirt next time she comes out if she can make it, right?
Oh yeah, she will. She'll be there. She'll take off work or she'll call in to go.
Nice.
So I'll be like, cool, you want to? She actually had just got off work at 5 and left and drove through all the traffic from San Diego basically area through down to make it. It took her like 2.5 hours, I think. She was like, I don't care. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm off at 5. I'm on my way. I was like, perfect. I'll meet you there.
Amazing, man. Well, I was grateful you came. It was really cool to meet her. It's great to see you. Throw you a hug, bro. And
always take a picture or casual or always reunion photo.
Yeah, man. I you know what? I'll add that one into our the show notes. So I want you to do me a favor, man. You've got some videos that you mentioned, and we want to be able to announce your scooter when it actually launches. So when people come back to this, you'll be able to see it. accesskevin.com. There'll be a special page just for Walter's show on there. We'll get the show notes. We'll get your videos in there. We'll make sure that we got links to your products, and people can order the custom Walter Perez scooter. What was the name behind the scooters? You have a
I have an actual name. Yeah, it's called the Zeppelin, based off like the old blimp from back in the day. Because Chili was originally designed in Germany, and this is like Chili's biggest scooter. And I just kind of tied everything in. Very big culture, dude. So I try to keep everything together and go with names. Everything on the scooter is thought of. It has 2 cars on the bottom that are both German, and has a Porsche and a BMW on the graphic, and LA on one side, New York on the other, freeway. It's a really cool scooter. I've worked really hard on it.
Yeah, it's big enough for me.
It is big enough for you, and it's affordable too. It's only $219.95.
All right, man.
Huge. Like out of the box, it's big. It's too big for me
quality,
out of the box.
Man. That's the biggest thing is it's good quality. If you're a big rider, you can ride it. Or you can cut the bars down. If you're a smaller rider, cut the deck down, you can still ride it. It's definitely very versatile. Yep.
That's, man, well, hopefully we just sell out then.
And if you guys want to see the story that I was going to mention earlier about the custom build that I did with Walter, we'll link that down below as well. It's the only customer custom build ever done at the Vault, even till now. And it
they're never doing that again. They said it was a great idea. We're not doing it though. Like, it's because it's hard. You don't know the customer,
It was probably the coolest surprise, like maybe ever, but in a long time, because you'll see in the video, I was not. I promise you, this is like inside information. I was not aware of this at all. It was completely surprise from Walter, and it was a day
Nice.
that I planned to come down there for a few days, and it was just me. And I opened the front door, and y'all had a camera on me, and I didn't know what was going on. So it's a
You were
pretty
this
amazing
close
video.
to crying. I almost
Dude,
got
I
the
was
tears out of you. That was the.
tripping,
I was like,
bro.
come on, let's see him shed a tear. Didn't do it for the video, but you
I was
were
tripping,
holding it
bro.
in, dude.
I
It
was
was so
holding it
Yeah,
in.
funny.
man.
It was one of the happiest moments ever, man. Even just being with a good friend, man. Like
Yeah.
aside from the video, just spending that time with you, I'll never forget it, man. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was good
Good
times. I'll
stuff.
see you soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
man.
make
Ish.
something
Yeah.
happen. I'll
Yeah.
have you come out to see me wherever that ends up being.
Yeah,
but
that's why I said we'll see you
Right,
soon
yeah.
ish.
I'll have you come out for
Man.
sure.
We can go together, Kevin. We'll plan it if I'm here and it's free and it's not expensive. We'll go together. So we're both not traveling alone.
Yeah, you could fly
Yeah,
out of
man.
LA. It's a little bit cheaper if you do it. So
Nice. All right.
cool.
Well,
That'd be
that
awesome.
sounds good. Once that mystery is solved for people, then by the time this show is publicized for your scooter sales, then maybe we'll have our Walter. You and I can do our reuniting with Caleb video, right? So
Oh,
that would be
definitely.
fun.
That'd be a
Yeah,
cool
I'm
vlog
always-
for the channel.
I'm always down to come on. Just let me know. This is fun.
It-
Sorry
I
it took so
appreciate-
long. It took like over a year.
We've been planning
Yeah,
this for a very long time.
Yeah, and like
This
the first
podcast.
time we wanted to do it was when I was moving out of LA, out of that house you went to. And I was like, all right, I'll do it then. And then I got settled in, and then I got so focused on my job, and then I just spaced on it. And then time goes by, and I'm like, oh my God, I never did that. And then once you brought up the show, I was like, I never did it. I need to do it.
Yep.
So I was like, this week I'm free. After this week, on the 6th, good luck. You can text me and I'll
Yeah,
reply
no,
at some point, right?
The time worked perfectly, man. I appreciate you
yeah.
doing it, and I'm really
Always down.
grateful too, man. Caleb, it's cool that you and you introduced me to Walter. I appreciate that, Walter. It's always been awesome to hang with you.
Likewise.
If you guys got here late, you'll get a great opportunity to watch back through this thing. Take a listen to the incredible story of Walter Perez and his scooter adventures from a fledgling young scooter rider all the way to now managing Chili Pro Scooters. He's on his way to Europe, where he's going to be hosting professional events. What was the event again?
It's fees.
Fees.
Fees. There you go.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll put a link to that
FISE.
too.
Yeah.
And if you didn't do so, here, please do me a favor, folks, and you've not done it, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Maybe I could become like the Funk Bros and purchase a mansion out there in Texas. Go to youtube.com/@accesskevin. Subscribe to the channel, hit like, ring the bell. You'll be notified of all the upcoming guests. And again, if you become a member, you can actually go through and there's some subscriber and members exclusive videos that are only for you. Kelly Kiki from Night Ranger, we just did his hang backstage at in his house, not backstage, but hanging by the pool, looking around at his drums and his platinum records. And we talked all about Sister Christian and everything Night Ranger. So you get to see that if you become a member. So go to Access Kevin, and on YouTube, you can find out all about membership benefits. So go there. Make sure that you follow Walter Perez at Walt3 Perez. So Walter Perez with a E as in a 3 on Instagram, probably Threads, and every place else that you can find pros. And Walter, thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
Capital K, man. Appreciate the conduit and the hosting. And for all of you guys that were chatting, I appreciate it. And Nazario, man, thank you for having me on Ask the Drummer podcast today. Everybody else that had chats and comments for Walter, thank you for being here too. I'll be back Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Drew Arnett from Strange Advance. So subscribe to the channel. You're going to be finding out all about it then. Talk to you guys later.